the introduction to MATLAB. The first and the foremost thing that comes to our mind when we speak of MATLAB is what exactly is MATLAB? MATLAB is like an high-level programming language, or we call it as a scientific program environment. And what and all we can do? So we can do mathematical computations, then we can analyze and visualize the data. So whatever the data we get, it can be from the computational work or from numerical work. We can visualize it, and there are a lot of built-in function within the MATLAB. We can use it, or we can write our own functions and we can use it. And maybe later on I will tell you where and all we can integrate this MATLAB. And there are some physical systems and what are the things that's happening. It can be with respect to physics. Those things we can model and analyze. So we have a Simulink. So a lot of things can be done. And when it comes to engineering design, maybe earlier, I think before 1960s, 70s and all, we used to entirely depend on experiments. Now with the advent of technology and the modern computational tools, so MATLAB is one particular tool where we can design a few things, maybe by modeling that particular physical phenomena, come up with some solutions, and what we can do is overall we can accelerate the design. So if you look at what is this MATLAB, it's actually derived from the company called Matrix Laboratory. And if you want history of MATLAB, what is this MATLAB or Matrix Laboratory? So I have one particular slide regarding the history at the appendix, which I'll be sharing. When I share the slide, I think it will be PPT, it will be with you. Okay. Now, so most of this MATLAB, I think I created this group, WhatsApp group. So most of them, so they keep writing, sir, what should I do if I don't have a MATLAB? Because I want to learn MATLAB, I want to run the MATLAB script. So can I use this? Can I use this? So I have this discussion. Some of them they told, can I use Scilab and all? Scilab is maybe mathematically, it may be a near syntax wise, maybe most of 40-50% is very similar to MATLAB. But most of the MATLAB commands can be run on an open source tool. We have what is called as GNU Octave. So GNU Octave is an open source which you can download, you can install on your Windows machine, Linux machine, or Mac OS machine. So now you look at it. So it's very similar where I can do 2D plotting, 3D plotting, visualizing, maybe some other toolboxes, what is very specific with respect to MATLAB, maybe that we may have some kind of section, but whatever the codes we write in MATLAB, that is .m files, can definitely be run in GNU Octave. Okay. One more thing is the Octave syntax. If you look at the Octave syntax and your MATLAB syntax are very similar. Maybe 95 to 96% of the MATLAB codes can be run on GNU Octave. Okay. So more information. I request you, if you have the Google this search, actually you can just go, and there is something called as Octave Wiki. Most of the examples how we can use Octave. So a lot of things are given there. You can just explore it. Then if you have a MATLAB, maybe your own personal thing, or you have an academic license, maybe with respect to your college, or you can install. If I don't have a MATLAB, you can install GNU Octave and you can explore the learning the MATLAB. Industrial applications. When you look at the MATLAB, it has a wide range of applications starting from aircraft, defense to manufacturing sector, whether it is robotics or it can be electronics, this thing, which can be communications and or for the medical this thing, ranging from biotech to pharmaceutical. And even the MATLAB is used to do the financial portfolio management and maybe the commodity trading and energy sector. So where we have the power, even most of the power plant, the control systems have been built, designed using the MATLAB. And with the advent of artificial intelligence and machine learning, so MATLAB is one tool which is extensively used in this particular area. Okay. Now, when you look at the MATLAB product family, we have three. If I look at it, I can have three verticals. One is So what and all I can do? So maybe creating an 2D plot or a three-dimensional plot, or I want to do some kind of an aesthetic kind of a thing. So coloring or lightning, or I want to create some kind of animations. So a lot of those things can be done on one side of it. So now we have an option. Say I have a code written in C, C++, or Java and all. So MATLAB allows us to interface those things also. So I can interface the other high-level languages with respect to MATLAB when I'm doing some kind of a design. Okay. Now, when you look into the MATLAB desktop actually, so when I install the MATLAB on my system or when I go to MATLAB online, so what I see actually. So this is your MATLAB desktop. If you look at it, so to the left-hand side, so you have three, you have O, plot, and apps actually. These are the three pull-down menus what you see. So the ribbons what we have. I think earlier we used to have pull-down menus in your works or I think Mac software. Now most of the things are called as the ribbons. So what we'll do is like when you go to this home, so we have option new script or new live script. So or new. So these three options we try to use it actually. Suppose if I want to write a script or something, you'll be using that actually. And when you come to when I try to write a script actually, say separate a ribbon will come what is called as editor. I'll speak on that particular later when little late. Now, so here the few things what we have to keep in our mind is, so what and all is there. So we have the current working folder. So the current working folder is where I'll be storing all my written MATLAB code files. Okay. Then you have the command, maybe your workspace. So workspace clearly shows that, say for example, I'm going to define a variable. So that variable, once I define, you can see that what are the variable I defined, what are the value, so what type of it is, those things you can see. And you have a terminal where I can type in my commands. So you can, the whole thing, if you look at it, you have three things: current folder, the workspace, and your terminal. And the extra thing what you're going to see when you have a script means you'll be having an editor. So if you look at it, you have a default layout. So I can have the default layout, I can have the vertical layout or tab layout, all those things you can just check in. So the present version of MATLAB which is used is that is R2020A. So if you have access to that, I think if you go and use the MATLAB online, you'll be using that actually. Now, see, as I told, you have this. So what is the current vertical folder? The current vertical maybe working folder displays all the files in whatever the folder you select. If I double click on that actually, so it will clearly tell that, so this is my working folder, all my files will be shared in that actually. So if you look at the workspace, so in the current session, so in this current session, what I am doing it, I'm defining some variables and I want to manipulate that variables, all those things can be done in the workspace. And you have a command window or your terminal where all the commands will be stored. Say for example, if I use my up arrow, down arrow, so the previous commands or the present commands, all the things I can shift, I can move up and down, I can run the commands. Okay. Now, there are some very basic things which we have to do actually. So the first five, so there are many actually, but we use it actually. Say for example, I have so many variables and I have to clear it. Or I want to clear a particular variable. So if I just simply tell clear, if I go to the terminal and just type in clear, so all the variables which has been defined, everything already which is there in the workspace. So I want to, but I have to define. I have defined clear A, B, C, but I want to only clear B. What I will do? Clear B. So only the whatever is defined, the B value, B as a variable, that gets cleared. So you have an option of clearing the variable or the complete, you can clear or clear all, or you can clear a particular variable. So now, so if you just simply go and type OO, so all the variables which you are defined in the current in the workspace will be displayed. Okay. Now, if I tell WHOS, OS means it clearly gives me the size of the information, what type of byte it is, it's all the information, it will be cleared. Now, when I'm telling about the variables, so these variables are case sensitive. So if you look at the MATLAB 6.5 onwards, that is the newer one is R MATLAB 2020A. I can define the variable name up to a maximum of 63 characters. And the variable name should start always from a letter, followed by, you can have some kind of a maybe a number. It can be 4, 5, or it can be upper score or underscore. All those things you can add it. So ensure that when I define a variable, it should start with a letter. So these are the very simple basic things which you have to follow when I'm defining a variable in the MATLAB. Okay. Now, this naming rules for variables. So variable, as I told, variable name must begin with a letter. So names can include any combination of letters or numbers or whatever it may be. And variable is, for example, the variable name A is different than the variable name A. As I told, it's a case sensitive. So if I use, for example, capital AA, and if I use capital A small a, so both are different variables. So that's the meaning of it. So capital BB, small b, and capital B, both are different variables. That means they are all case sensitive. And there are some inbuilt few things are there. Say, for example, pi. So the value of pi, I, j, k, and all, cos, sine, they are all inbuilt functions. Try to avoid using these inbuilt functions as your variable names. Say, for example, character, size, plot, all those things, log 10, they're all inbuilt functions. So this variable names, defining these inbuilt variable names has to be avoided. So it's a good, as a good programmer, so you should make it a practice. So how you are going to use the variable? Say, for example, I want to write a program to calculate the area and circumference of this particular. What I use it actually, I will ensure that my variable names are associated with, say, radius or area or circumference, rather than using something else, rocket or something. So what I will do is, when I'm using the program and I'm writing the program, I should ensure that what I am trying to do, my variable name also should be related to that. So that will be the good practice. And so generic, we try to use X, Y, Z, or XX, XY, or all those things we try to use it. Okay. Now, when you define a variable, how it, say, for example, if I'm going to define, if I go to my MATLAB, this thing, and type in the terminal, X is equal to 10.57. So you can see that I have ended the particular variable definition with a semicolon. What happens? So now, if I look at it, a variable X of type double discrete. What is this double actually? So if you look at what is this double, and a memory location for the variable X is assigned. So X is something I want to assign the variable X, and 10.57 is the value stored in that particular variable. Okay. Now, what is this double actually? It is a precision. So by default, MATLAB takes double as a precision. Fine. Now, what will happen if next line, what I want to do? So if I try to type some X is equal to some 73.65. If I define it, the old value which is already defined, so in the previous thing, 10.57, will be replaced by the present value. So why this particular thing I'm stressing upon it actually, whenever we are trying to write the code and all, so the latest value of the variable will be taken, will be stored in that particular workspace. And if I end the particular syntax by a semicolon, it is just stored. If I don't put the semicolon, automatically that particular value gets displayed. So in the command window, the semicolon is one particular thing which, if you put a semicolon, I won't get the display of that particular variable in the command window. If I don't use the semicolon, that particular value gets displayed in your command window as well as in the workspace. And the latest value or what is defined of that particular variable is stored in the workspace. Okay. Now sometimes I think instead of numbers, so we may define some kind of a strings. Say, for example, a month I want to define. So month or year 20. So within that particular thing, so month, August or July, whatever I'm going to define. What is it actually? It is called as a character string. It's a character array is created, and the memory location for this variable is month is assigned, The string is August. It's stored in that particular location of the month. See, you can clearly note. So it is note the entire string. We must put a single quote. You can clearly see that it has to be within the single quotes. When I'm defining the string, actually, I have to define it using the single quote. Okay. Now, so when I've defined a variable, when I've defined a string, I need to get the display of it. I need to get a display of it. So is it possible for me to see? Anyhow, this particular display will be useful when I'm writing the script. When you are running in the command window, automatically, if I don't use the semicolon, automatically in the command window that variable get displayed. But when I'm writing the scripts, or when I'm writing the script, at the end of the script, actually, I want to get the display. Say, for example, right now we are defined x is equal to 73.65. So I want that particular thing has to be displayed in my command window. What I'm going to use, actually, display within that particular thing. You can see that string. So the value of x is, and ended with a semicolon, display x. If I put that, I will get the value of x is equal to, x is with the colon is equal to whatever the value 73.65 that gets displayed. Fine. So I'm still okay. So as I'm telling that, we have the variable. So variable is stored in the your workspace. If you look at it, if you closely zoom that workspace and closely observe that, actually, we have three columns. One is the value, the size, and the class. So now, as I told, I'm going to define a value. So a is equal to 10, or a is equal to 10.57, or a is equal to 73.65. If I define it, it is a scalar value, and by default it will be a double precision. Now I'm going to create some kind of a matrix, or I'm going to create a cell. Say, for example, I'm going to create a row matrix 1 cross 3, or I can have a column matrix 3 cross 1, or I can have a square matrix of 3 cross 3. If I do that, so that clearly shows that it is stored as a cell array or a structural array, which you're going to learn as we move to the matrix and all. So now here three columns are there. One is the value of that particular variable, whatever it may be. It can be A, B, C, D, whatever it may be. What is its size, and what is the class it wants, whether what is the double precision, or it is an array, or it can be structural array, or it can be cellular array. Okay. Now, when I'm trying to run the MATLAB, there are some predefined variables. As I told that predefined variables are there. So pi, the value of the pi, 3.14157. So it takes the whole thing, and we have what is called, say, for example, I want to get an epsilon of it. The smallest difference between the two numbers, what are we call, actually. So that particular epsilon, e to the power of whatever that particular number, exponential. So order that is taken. And if I want to get a value for infinity, and we have one more not a number, that is when I end up with infinity, so 0 by 0, that particular thing. And we have predefined ij, and you have an answer. So some of these variables are in, maybe you might be not aware of it. You can, maybe I'll tell you what are the book, maybe in the reference section I have given the book. You can just go to the MATLAB help command. You can check it. What are the predefined variables which you people are not supposed to use as a variable when you start writing your scripts? Okay. So what are some of the mathematical operations? So there are some mathematical operations and the precedence, what we look at, actually. Now we all know that we have the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and exponential. So now I have put the operators. So in the MATLAB, the same kind of operators is done. So this plus, say if I want to add two numbers, two variables which already defined, let's say I can directly go to the command window. I can just type those two numbers, say for example 5 and 3, or I can define a is equal to 5 or b is equal to 3, or I can add c is equal to a plus b, whatever I want I can do it. So the plus command, just simply it will add up. So that means I'm going to use my MATLAB command window as a calculator. Now the multiplication is the star. So now I want to do the right division, that is the left side variable divided by right side variable. It is 5 by 3. Now if I do a left division symbol, it is right, that is the variable to the right actually divided by the left, that is it will be 3 by 5. So we have both the options. I think while using the MATLAB, for writing the script, we should be very careful whether we have to divide A by B or B by A. We can define A, we can define B. So if I use the right division, it is A by B. If I use left division, it will be B by A. Now exponential, I can use the apostrophe of that particular thing, whatever that particular thing has command. So I'll be getting, so 5 cube means I'll be getting 5 to the power of 3. So I'll be getting that. Now, when I'm writing the script, actually, when I'm writing the mathematics, when I'm trying to solve an equation, so I have a longer polynomial equation. So how the order of the precedence happens, what will open first, what is calculated first. So the first and the foremost thing is actually we'll have the parenthesis. So that is the innermost of the parenthesis will be done. So already this we have learned in our maybe school or whatever it may be. The same thing applies in our MATLAB also. Then your exponential, then your multiplication, either left division or right division, and the last will be either addition or subtraction. So the precedence order is 1 for the parenthesis or brackets, what we call, 2 for all the exponential values, 3 for multiplication and division, and 4 for the addition and subtraction. Okay. Now, so there are some inbuilt mathematical functions. So what we try to do actually, there are some basic sine, cos, tan, cot, secant, cosecant, whatever it may be. They are all inbuilt trigonometric relations. So we have the hyperbolic, and we have the inverse, and all these things actually, the basic hyperbolic inverse, whenever I'm, say for example, I'm going to use sine within the bracket 0.5. If I use that, the value of 0.5 is in radians. So sometimes if I want to define, say for example, I want to find the value of the angle. So the value of the angle is 40. So in that case, I have to use degree, that is sine d. So you can look at it, sine, cos, tan and all. If I ends with sine d means the value within the bracket should be degree. So whenever we are writing the code or script, actually, we make this mistakes. Either if I don't define if I don't put the d, actually, the value will be in radians. If I put the d, the value will be in degrees. And we have other inbuilt mathematical functions like exponential, the natural log, the base 10 log, or base 2 square root, or you have, say for example, I want to find nth root of it. So nth root of within the bracket, that particular value, comma, I want to find third root, or I can put 3. So we have nth root, all the values, they are all called as exponential, maybe mathematical functions, or sometimes you have to use absolute value of it, or I want to take the real of it. The angle can be clearly, if they are all complex values, or sometimes I have to find the factorial of it, or I want to find the LCM of it, or I want to do some kind of a matrix operation, like finding the rank of the matrix, or calculating the determinant of the matrix. All those things are exponential, that particular matrix I can usually done using your inbuilt mathematical functions. And the list is exhaustive. So what we frequently use, those things I'm trying to put here. So if you want all the things, like you can just go to the MATLAB help and you can just check it. Okay. Now, so why, see, even though MATLAB matrices session will be covered in the afternoon, maybe 12 o'clock session by Narari, but I want to stress upon scalars and vectors. Okay. Now, what is the scalar? It is nothing but it's a value I'm going to define in 1, 1, that is one row and one column. Fine. A vector is also a special form of matrix containing only, so it's also one row or one column. So one row and one column, one row or one column. Look at it, vectors as well as you have this scalar. Now, I put a simple in the form of a graphical form, I defined it actually. So I have defined 5. 5 is nothing but a scalar of 1 cross 1. Now I have a row vector and I have a column vector. Then I have a one-dimensional matrix of 3 by 3. How it takes actually. Then I have a two-dimensional matrix of 3 cross 5. That means you have 3 rows and 5 columns. And you have a 3-dimensional matrix. You look at it. So all those things actually, how I'm going to define 2-dimensional matrix, a 3-dimensional matrix. So all the matrices, how I'm going to define, will be discussed in the afternoon, the particular thing. But as a vector, as a scalar, how this particular thing is defined. So we all know that scalar is nothing but it has a particular value, and vector means it has a value as well as I'm going to give the that particular thing. So we'll go with the same notation, but we have to define clearly what is my scalar value and what is my vector value when you are defining in your matrix scripts actually. Now, okay. Now, when I define, say for example, I am going to define a value that is a variable, that is a underscore value is equal to 23. So here a underscore value is a variable. A underscore value is a variable, and I have assigned a value of 23. So if I put a semicolon, the particular thing won't get displayed in the command window. So here I have not put the semicolon. So immediately once you type the value a underscore value is equal to 23 in the command window, I can see a underscore value is equal to 23. Now, say for example, I want to define a vector, row vector. So here you can see that I have defined, put the variable. Say for example, it can be 3 comma 4 comma 5 or 3 space 4 space 5. Either you can put comma or you can leave it as it is. But when I'm defining the column vector, I should ensure that I put the semicolon so that I will go to the next thing. Fine, it is. So 1 comma 3 and 3 is 1 cross 3 and 3 cross 1. This is how you want to define the matrix variables in the MATLAB. Now I want to get a 3 cross 3 matrix. You can look at this. So I have defined, so maybe a underscore matrix, whatever it may be, I can define the variable is equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3 or 1 space 2 space 3 followed by semicolon. If I put the semicolon, it will go to the next line. Next 4 comma 5 comma 6 semicolon, it will go to the next line. 7 8 9 it will go. So I can define the 3 cross 3 matrix either 1 comma 2 comma 3 or 1 space 2 space 3 followed by semicolon, so that I can get the matrix in this particular form. So matrix operations will be clearly taken up by NUR array, but you should know what exactly. I'm very particular about defining the variables, defining the vectors, how you can create that particular matrix. Okay. So there are other MATLAB symbols actually. So I'm writing a script. It's very long. It has to go to the continuous to the next line. So just put 3 dots lines. It can take it to the next thing. Or maybe if I put if I'm writing the scripts actually, most of the times we want to know what it is. So I have to put a percentage symbol. It's nothing but it's a comment actually. It's a comment. It's a comment at the beginning of the syntax or your program I want to write. So this what the program does actually. If I want to write it actually, I can put a percentage symbol and I can type it. So as I told that if I use a semicolon, it's going to suppress. It's going to suppress the output or used as a row separator. And if I put a colon actually, it's going to define the range. I think the more, say for example, I'm using some kind of an inbuilt MATLAB command, like say for example linspace and all. I think it will be discussed as we proceed. So in that we are going to use this colon, so that say for example I want to define a range. Say for example 1 to 100 in steps of 2. So what is going to define actually 1 colon 100 colon 2. So I'm going to define 1 if I use the linspace 1 3 5 7 9. All the values from 1 to 100 will be displayed.
So there are Jinadibru join agakante.
Oh, fine, sir. Yeah, fine. Okay. Now, so sometimes we'll be dealing with the data. So I want to read the data. So that means I want to load that particular DAT file. So which may be consisting of your values. It may be some experimental values, whatever it may be. So it's a simple command is there. So load name of the file. So I just have given my data.dat, or it should be your that particular data file. So usually we store the data file as .dat actually. So I can load it actually. So you want to know what is the size of that particular data file. So it may be having some 100 rows and 100 columns with some 50 rows, whatever that may be data. just you can put that size of that particular name of the file. It returns what is the number of rows and columns in that particular file. And you want to say what is the length of it. As I told, there are 100 data. So I can clearly length of that particular whatever the vector you want, A or B or C, whatever it may, it clearly tells that it tells that this as 100 values. So this will be very helpful when I'm dealing with the data files, when I'm trying to load the data and read it and check for it. Okay. So script files, regarding the script file, inbuilt function, all those things will be in detail discussed in the coming session. But there are some thumb rules which we need to follow when I'm writing the script file. Okay. So what is a script file? A script file is an executable MATLAB command. See, executable MATLAB command. So whatever you are trying to do in your command window, so those things you're going to group it and you're going to call that as a script file. And what it's going to do, say for example, in the command window, I will type one line, second line. So each syntax you're going to say, there are something like 6 syntax are there. You're going to group the 6 syntax and you have to ensure that they are in the sequence. So if I want to find the circumference of a particular area, so if I want to do it, actually I have to define a radius. So defining that particular radius should be your first line. R is equal to some number, or input the value of that particular radius, that should be your first number. Then second line, write the formula to find the circumference. Circumference is equal to 2 pi r. Or you want to find then you want to display it actually. So display the circumference is equal to, so the sequence of lines what you want to do actually, that what you used to do in the command window, that you want to write it in the script, ensure that the sequence is followed properly. So that's the first rule what you have to do. So instead of, see, if even writing right now I gave an example how you're going to calculate the circumference. Instead of that, so I'm going to define the radius. I will try to display the circumference without calculating the circumference of it. So it end up with an error. So the sequence, the commands, what you're going to write in the command window, if you write it in a proper fashion, so that it becomes a single variable or a single workable or working MATLAB code. Okay. Then suppose I have a set of 15 commands in the command prompt. You will notice that your 14th or 13th or 12th may be having an error. Okay. So when you run the command, when you run the script, actually in the command window, it will clearly show that yes, that particular maybe 14th line or 13th line, whatever that particular thing, it has an error. Okay. So that can be when you execute it, this commands. Otherwise, what you will be, if you are trying to run this all the 14 line or 15 lines command in your command window, you don't know where I've done the mistake. But when you run the script, actually they are in sequential form. You know that till this particular form, till that particular line, the 13th line, the whole script is running well. By the time it comes to 14th or 13th, so there is an error. Okay. And also, I want to automate some of the things, or I want to run my script file much faster. That means you want to automate many of the things. Say the same script file, I want to do it for many things. As I told, I have a particular formula and I have a variable. So if I write a script file in such a way that I have an option to vary that variable, or I can define the variable in the command window. Say for example, radius is equal to 5. If I put it in the screen, instead of that, if I input the variable, input the name of the variable. So radius is equal to, that means if I put 5, I'll get a different circumference. If I put 10, I'll get a different circumference. So those options you have when I run the script, actually, when I have a script. Okay. See, here, if you want to create a script file, so there are two things. Either you go to as I told, you go to the new script file. New script file, you have an option called as new script icon in the home tab. Click on that, you will get what is called as an editor. You will get what is called as an editor. Look at this. So when I click on that, go to the left side of it, you have an option, new script. Just click on that new script file. You will get an editor. Either it can be embedded or it will pop out sometimes. You can look at the editor file. You have you can see that it will come as untitled because it creates a blank script file. Fine. Now here you can type all your commands. You can type all your commands, and then you can see that you have an option. So you're typing all those things. Here you can see you have a run command. So usually we try to look at so once we write the script and we run it, or if you want to run it from the command window, so it asks us to save this file. So ensure that when you are saving the file, so I have defined, say for example, this error will come. I'll give you a simple example. Say I want to find the area of the circle. So I'm going to define radius is equal to some number, and I'm going to put the formula for the area. Area is equal to pi r square. Then I'm going to display everything. Now I have defined area as the variable. If I try to name the area as my MATLAB, that is .m file, it won't run. It tells that the variable defined variable as well as your script file as the same variable, as the same name. I have to ensure that your variables, what is defined in that particular script file, should be different from what you are naming your script file. So this is a very simple thumb rule you have to follow, because sometimes we write the code, we run all the syntax, everything will be right, and we make this error, we will be getting the errors in the command window. Because I faced this particular problem when I started learning this matter. Okay. Now, see, set the current working directory. As I told, whatever the set of commands what you want to do, all those things will be in your current working directory. When I try to run it, actually, if in the command window or from your typing the green arrow, you should ensure that the current directory is what you have to choose, or it will prompt actually. You want to change your current working directory to this particular thing. So if you click yes, then only maybe the script will run. If you give no, it will give an error. So the three important things what we have to, when you're writing the script, what we have to see is actually, we have to ensure that it is in the current working directory. When I have a set of commands, it should be in a sequential order. And the third thing is, you have to name the script file other than the variable what you have defined. So these three things you have to keep in your mind when you are trying to write your own script file, user defined script file. So just I have given an example, whatever I told, I have given an example. So something like, you can see that I put a percentage symbol. So this script computes the area and circumference of a circle. So you should give the information. So your comment line should be such that it should give the information what is the purpose of writing that particular script. Fine. Then all the variables are defined, and I have done some calculations, and then I am displaying it. So this is a very simple script file to calculate the area and circumference of the file. Okay. Now, any line that starts with a percentage comment and turns green, it doesn't execute. So you have to see the color coding. Here, two colors are very important. One is the green. So whatever in the green, it is a non-executable command. And say you can look at this display within the parenthesis. I have put with single quotes. I have put area is equal to. So if that is pink, see if sometimes when you are writing the code, if that is red, actually you have done some kind of a mistake. So I have to ensure that that is in pink color. So whatever I am trying to put in the parenthesis. So the color coding should be very, very critical when you are writing the MATLAB code. So you can easily find out, I can easily come out with, yes, I have made a mistake. I should go and check that particular line because it's showing as a red color. So here the whole script is perfect. So I can see that area and the circumference. So those particular thing is turned to pink. And the green is the non-executable command. Okay. So we have a separate session for the plotting, 2D, all those things and all. But still, what exactly is plotting? So we use it actually. As I told that we have a set of data X, Y, or whatever it may be. We need to plot it actually. So plot X versus Y. And I want to add some kind of a label to it. I want to add some kind of a title to it. I want to add some kind of a legend to it, all those things. We try to do it. Or I want it to be an X coordinate, Y coordinate, all those things we try to do. There are some simple rules what we have to do. So here, as I told, so what should come first and what should maybe the whatever I told, like your order of the syntax, the order of syntax should be clearly defined actually. So before defining the variable, never ever try to use the plot command. Say I have not defined the variable. Say I want to plot. Say if I go back and see, I want to plot time versus time versus this time. If I use a plot command before defining the variable, you will end up with an error. Now, if I define the variable, say for example, time is equal to within the square bracket, I have defined so time from for 30 seconds or with an interval of maybe 2 seconds or whatever it may be. So distance I'll put maybe 0 to some 100 centimeters or in the distance of with a spacing of every 2 centimeters. I've defined it. So time versus distance I've defined. Then I can go and plot. So your plot, either you can have two variables or single variable. I want to plot only distance. So plot within the parentheses you can put distance, or within the plot within the parentheses you can put the time, or plot within the parentheses you can put time. So I can plot a single variable, and I have to ensure that the variable has to be defined clearly. If you don't define the variable and if you try to use the plot command, you will end up with an error. Okay. So I have a set of few things. This may be required for you. What should come? So I want to define the label. I want to define the title. I want to define the legend after defining the variable. So I have a simple example here. So some kind of an oscillation plot I have taken, the equation. If you look at it, I have defined the variables. A is equal to some 0.1, B is equal to 1, T, and I have the spacing from 0 to 0.1, so 0 to 20 in steps of 0.1. So I defined. Now I have defined the equation y is equal to EA to the exponential term cos BT into, then I'm trying to plot T versus Y. Now you can see what is this grid on. You can see that there is one command grid on. So this will be taught you what do you mean by grid on and grid off, what do you mean by subplot. All those things will be discussed in the plot. Now if you look at it, I want to maybe you can see that I have a plot at the bottom. You can see I have a plot at the bottom. See, whatever the label you want to define, you have an X label. See, I have this particular plot, X label and Y label. So sometimes when you are doing it, actually we try to interchange and we try to make a mistake. Then the title will always come at the top. So what I need to do, title within the parentheses, within the single quotes, I have to name it, whatever the name I want to do it. Then you can see that there is a legend command. So legend, this is the value. So any simple plot, whatever I'm going to do, either you should have a X label, Y label, and a title. So legend, what is that particular thing? I can have this particular thing. So these four things is a must and should when I'm trying to plot any kind of two variables or single variables, whatever. Okay. So once we looked into this, some of the simple syntax, scripts, and plot actually, we have some useful MATLAB commands. So this you can find it in your library. You can just go to the help and you can check it. Say if I'm trying to put an ls, I think usually someone you're using the Linux, if you put ls, you'll get what is the directory, all those things. So list all the MATLAB files. Say for example, if I go and type in the command window, what means all the MATLAB files in that particular current working directory will be below. If you type pwd means present working directory, all those things. So you want to delete or del of that particular thing, some of the MATLAB commands. So very useful MATLAB commands I have compiled it and I given in this particular slide. Okay, we use other three. We use some of the logical operators. So and, or not. So depending upon the if statements, if and else statements. Okay. Now we try to display in what format. See, there are 8 formats defined in your MATLAB actually. So from format short to format long. If I just simply type format short, so it will be, say for example, I have a value 2.5463 or whatever it is. So if I'm going to display to only 4 decimals, so I'll use format short. So if I use format long, it will go up to 16 digits. So even in format short E actually, so you will be getting 5 digits plus that exponent E, that 5 digits. So if I use format long E, it will be giving 16 digits plus the exponent. And you have format hexadecimal, you have the rational number. So you have different 8 formats will be used extensively in the mathematical operations. Okay. See, once we know about this MATLAB and all, so how, see, some of the things we always have this difficulty. Say I want to find, say for example, I want to know something about cell array, or I want to know how the structural array works. You can easily get all the things from your MATLAB help actually. Either you can type help in your command window, or you can just go to the right hand side. I will just give, after this I will take you through the few of the practical sessions. I will show you where exactly you go and type whatever the thing you want in that using your keyboard. Type that particular thing, it will take you that particular thing, and it will give enough information is stored in the MATLAB help. Okay. If someone is new to the MATLAB, I prefer the best book for them to learn is, I think, what we have been using in our for our students, MATLAB and Introduction with Applications by Amos Gillard. I think right now in the 6th edition, you can purchase that. You want to learn if you are very serious about that. And we have a small book. I think it's around 50-60 pages. We have a Getting Started with MATLAB, a quick introduction to for scientists and engineers by Rudra Pratap from IISc. And we have the MATLAB book by Dukkapati. And if you are an advanced user, experienced user, we have Hunt, Lipsman, and Rosenberg. But I prefer that if you are someone new to the MATLAB, you can start off with MATLAB by Amos Gillard. Okay. I told about something about history. It's there in the appendix. Now, what I will do is, like, I will take you through some of the practical sessions, a little bit, maybe 5-10 minutes. I will just, then we can take up the questions. Most of us, we tell that we don't have, we are not installed in our system and all. I think if you go to this octave-online.net, fine, octave-online.net, actually, you can see that you can log into that, and to the right hand side you can look at it. You can sign in with your Google or sign in with your email, whatever it may be. Now if I try to sign in with my email ID, yeah, you can see that I can run my script. It is connecting. Okay, so MATLAB, now it is connected. So this is your GUI. So you can see to the left hand side, I have the workspace. So as I told, let's define A is equal to some 10.57. Fine. You can see that the value of A is assigned. I was showing you something, the workspace with a as a variable. It has a value, it has a size, it has the position as a double. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that A. If you double click on that, you can see that I can see an Excel file like a thing. An Excel file gets opened. So I can go and change the variable. You can change the variable from the command window or from in the Excel file itself, there itself. If I go and just change it to some 20. Okay, you can see that once I change the value changes here. Now if I go and type A in the command window, yeah, you can see the value of A is changed. So when you are writing that particular code, or when you're writing the you executing the commands from your command window, you need not define the variable in your command window. You can change that values in your workspace also. So that option is there in your thing. Okay. Now, regarding the script I told, you can go here. Again, I can click on that directly. Click on it. You'll be getting a new script. It's loading. You can see You can see that it's a new script. So whenever I have the new script, so CLC clears all the commands. Yeah. If I use clear, I'm going to type EA. That means EA are defined, so only that EA. So if I try to define A is equal to some 4, B is equal to some 6, so I define two variables. So now if I want to clear only B, you can see only the B gets. So when you want to define a particular variable, or when you feel that that variable I need to clear it when I'm using the command window, you can do the simple commands. Now coming back to the scripts, actually, when I click on the new script, you can see that a separate editor ribbon opens up. Actually, it is untitled. Okay, untitled. So the moment you type the percentage, so let's try to so this program, you see that automatically the color turns to green. So all the green color after the percentage clearly indicates that it's a non-executable command. So this program calculates the area. It's simple. Now, so if I want to define that particular thing, say for example, I'm going to define some R is equal to some 5. R is equal to 5, and I'm going to put a semicolon. So area is equal to 2 into 5 into R semicolon. Then display area is equal to 5. Then display area. Okay. Now, the moment if I try to run, actually, you can see that it lasts. You want me to save this as what? So if I try to save it as, say for example, I'm going to define it as area. You can see that I told that I'm going to define it as area. Yeah. Now, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. Now, if I try to run, you see, using area as both the name of the variable and the name of the script is not supported. So what should I do? I should rename it. This particular error we try to make it. Now I will change it to, so what I will do actually, so something else I'll make. Okay, I'll make it as circle. Okay. Now I'll try to run that particular command. See, now it has calculated. So whatever I told, so ensure that the variable names and your name of your script file should be different. And whatever the set of commands, see now, so what I'm going to define, this particular thing, I'll put it here. Okay. Now I'll try to run the command. Okay. So already this particular thing is defined. We can clear CLC all the commands. So I have to ensure that the sequence of commands, or if I want to run this particular code from my command prompt, just I'll go and type the circle. So that is the name of the MATLAB file what I've used. See that. What I've done actually, so I've defined the variable, but I'm trying to display it before I could calculate the area. So I'll end up with an area. I'll end up with an error. So the sequence, whatever I told, the sequence of your syntax, we try to make this, I think this particular problem, we try to make it whenever writing the code, ensure that they're in proper order. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that, whatever you're going to do. So the calculations, so the radius, then area, then the display. So same thing, whatever maybe your mathematical calculation, whatever we try to do, you try to follow the simple steps, even the plotting also. So if I'm going to define the variables, then I'm going to plot it. Without defining the variables, if I try to plot it, then it will be difficult. Okay, this is about your MATLAB online actually. So some of you, as I told that I have difficulty in using MATLAB, can use something else. So as I told that either you can install Octave on your system by downloading GNU Octave, that particular you can just go there, or whatever I did on my system using the MATLAB, I'm going to do the same thing, but it has a different color. Actually, I'm going to define, say for example, A is equal to some 4, B is equal to 6, so C is equal to A plus B. So whatever I'm trying to do on my MATLAB, the same commands. I think all your MATLAB script codes, all your MATLAB script, you can see to the left hand side, you can see there is an option, upload a file. So you have some kind of a file written in your on your system. You can upload that particular file and you can run it. Okay, so let me go to my Dropbox and just check the running MATLAB code. Yeah, there is a circle. Fine. Yeah, that particular code is there. You can see that. So now I want to run this. So whatever the code, see, this is a MATLAB code, what I have written. So most of you have difficulty in using MATLAB. I think MATLAB, if you look at it, I think maybe cost-wise, it's on the higher end. If you have an academic license version, otherwise, if you want to purchase maybe as a faculty, if you want to do it, maybe annual subscription will come around 15,000, and you want to go for a perpetual license, it may come around 30,000 plus taxes. But we have some useful online tools like GNU Octave, where most of your MATLAB commands can be run. So you can use it and you can see. So there in the variables, in the workspace in the MATLAB, what I showed, no. So similarly we have a different name, what is called as VARS, VARS. You can see that A is equal to 4. Only thing is you people have to get used to this particular GNU Octave command. I think once you start using this GNU Octave, rather installing on your system, you just need an internet connection, you need a browser, just go there and you can start exploring. You can write your commands to the left, just like you have an editor to the left hand side, you have a command window to the right hand side, and you can do all the things what you are doing on your MATLAB can be used